I was drawn to printmaking by actually a course requirement. I had had a little experience with it in high school and I was not that impressed. And then I ended up having to take a 400 level art course for my bachelor's degree, and I ended up absolutely loving it. And so I took more, and after I graduated, I just kept practicing it. And I just couldn't stop. I just love printmaking, and I'm really happy about that course requirement. I think one thing that separates printmaking from other forms of art is the ability to work with multiples. It's definitely an easy medium to work with multiples in, and I think multiples are a really effective tool in art. I think they can help with commercial art, whether you want to make prints for production or whether you just want to make an exhibit to use multiples to hammer home your theme. I think that multiples are a very effective tool, and printmaking is a great way to use them. My favorite piece that I've worked on ended up being something that I wasn't that interested in at first, and it really grew on me. I did a mono print of with using just black ink, and I made it a relief print and wiped away the ink until I had just a black geometric shape that turned into different bird-like shapes and then into ravens. And I called it an unkindness, and it ended up just being something that I did on a whim, and I ended up loving it. It actually ended up being the cover of an art publication at my school, and it's just always been one of my favorite pieces. So one of the things I'm working on right now is actually a children's book. I wrote it, and then I decided to do the illustrations using Linocuts, and it's working out really well. It lets you make lots of pages and lots of multiples and additions, and it looks really cool. I'm really excited about it. My favorite part of the printing process is definitely the carving. There's something really therapeutic about when you're doing a relief print and you're carving away the linoleum or the wood or whatever you're working with. And then my second favorite part is the first edition after you've inked it for the first time, because it always turns out a little bit different than you think it's going to. How I plan on using printmaking in the future is largely to make crafts for sale. I've been working on that a lot recently. I've been making coasters and cards, and it's just a fun way to make stuff that people actually want to use, but that definitely still have a personal handmade touch. So the first step is to have your drawing all made. I've drawn here a little chickadee surrounded by laurels. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shade in the back of this with the graphite pencil. So this is not a particularly exciting step, but we're just going to go ahead and knock it out. Make sure it's nice and dark. That's what we're going to do next. Let's flip it over onto the linoleum. And this is not a super nice piece of linoleum, but it'll do the trick. And then we're going to trace the design with the pencil. Just double checking real quick that this is all down there. And there we go. And it's not a strong image, but it'll do the trick. Part 2 of printmaking is my favorite part, to carve the design. I've gone over this design again in a darker pencil so you can see it clearer. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools and start carving. So the carving tools often come with many different thicknesses and types of tips that you can use to carve away with. To do an outline, I would use a thin one like this. And so I'm going to go ahead, put these off to the side. And then screw this in. So we're all ready to go. So I'm going to start by carving away the laurels. So everything that I carve away will not have any ink on it when it's time to ink your linoleum. And this one is largely going to be a relief, where most of the main focus of the design has been carved away. It's important not to carve near your fingers. I have gone to the ER once before. I'm going to ignore that rule because I'm stupid. This is a really easy to carve linoleum. A lot of times people use a battleship gray, much thicker, heavier, harder material that lasts longer. But this is really nice for carving super fast. And it's also nice because since it's so soft, it kind of prints well on other surfaces besides paper, like wood. So I can use this to make posters or decorate boxes or something later. There you have it. I'm going to start by taking some of my water-soluble block printing ink and wiping it on this glass plate. Water-soluble ink is a lot cheaper and easier to clean, but it does not make as opaque of a drawing, so I'm going to use a lot more than I would use if I did oil-based. And the next step is to roll it out, and one thing to help make it thinner is to take your palette knife and kind of spread it around before you start rolling. And then you're going to roll it out with the roller until it's a thin layer that's not too tacky. It'll have a distinct texture. See, like this is too tacky right now. It's all sticky, like Nexus from Fern Gully. Do a little test roll. It's looking pretty good. So this might be a little bit too much ink, but better too much than too little. And I'm going to go ahead and cover my design in ink. So far it's looking pretty great. All the white spots will not be inked on the final design. So the final step is making your actual print. So I'm going to use printmaking paper, which is a little bit thicker than normal paper. I'm going to rip off a piece. I'm going to lay it over top very gently so it doesn't smudge of my drawing. And I'm going to press it down really hard. And one way to make the colors on your print more opaque is to dampen your paper first and then let it dry between newsprint. Another way to get it more opaque is to use one of these. Here's the final piece.